Hi folks, my name is Robert. In this video, we're going to create a NextJS app. This app is going to do one thing. It's going to authenticate with the GitHub OAuth flow. On the back end, the NextJS server, we're going to receive a token, and we are going to thread that down to the front end. In the next video, we're going to use that token to access the GitHub GraphQL API. So this video will be about setting everything up, and the next video will be about building an Isograph app that uses the GitHub GraphQL API. So there we're going to demonstrate the developer experience, the features, and answer a bunch of questions about Isograph. This one is all set up, somewhat less relevant to the overall story. So here, bear with me, I just want to give you a warning, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm sure I'm going to do this in not the most efficient fashion, but let's go ahead and give it a try. All right, so first we'll start off by calling npx create next app. We'll call it demo isograph. Yes, we want to use TypeScript. Yes, we want to use ESLint. No Tailwind. Yes, source directory. No app router. And we do not want to customize the default import alias. Okay, so now we can go into demo isograph. We can copy this .env.local file to here. This has two keys. This has a GitHub client ID key and a GitHub client secret key. So if we start yarn, let's remove package lock and just run yarn. That takes a second, might as well do it in the background. So beforehand, I went ahead and created an OAuth app on GitHub. So to do that, you go to Settings, Developer Settings, OAuth Applications, and then you create a new one. I went ahead and got the client ID. When you create one, you get a client secret. I copied that down. Those are the things that are in the .env.local file. And the only other important things I did was I set the homepage URL and set the authorization callback URL. Okay, so that's what we need on this side. Now if we go back here, we can go ahead and yarn add next-auth and npm run dev. Now if we go to localhost 3000, we see a Next.js app. Excellent, exactly what I expected. Okay, so first things first. Oh, nice, okay. So I've actually gone ahead and already ignored the node modules and .next folders in VS Code, so you don't see them here, but they exist. So first things we want to do is go ahead and create this auth folder here, create this .nextauth.js file. If we go to the client, the getting started guide, you'll see that they recommend you do that. So we'll copy this stuff that they gave us and paste it here. So what we're doing here is we're creating a provider, a GitHub provider, and to this we pass a bunch of information that sort of tells it how to authenticate with GitHub. So in this case we need to pass GitHub client ID and GitHub client secret because that's what I named them. The only other thing we want to do is to also set certain scopes. In particular, we want to request the repo scope. So this grants full access to repositories, including read and write access. That's what we're going to want in the next video. Okay, so it's something like here, authorization param scope. That is a let's make sure. Yep, I did that correctly. Awesome. That alternative window that you're seeing is a previous version of this app. I built it all out to make sure that everything works, so hopefully it goes smoothly. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of this guy. Next thing we need is to have some callbacks. So first thing we want is an async JWT callback and an async session callback. So the JWT callback takes a account token and profile, and what it does is in here we set a bunch of stuff on the token and then we return the token. So we're going to get this account.access token from the backend. We're also going to get the profile.id. I don't really think we need that, but I'll go ahead and stick with what works and pass them both. Then we return the token. So if account token dot access token equals account dot access token, and token dot id equals profile dot id, and then we go ahead and return the token. And we also have another callback. This one gets called after the previous one with a token and a session. So in the first callback, what we did was transfer some information onto the token, and in the second callback, we transfer that information from the token onto the session. The session gets serialized and sent to the front end. So importantly, this access token ends up accessible from the front end. Okay, so session.access token equals token.access token, and session.id equals, or session.user.id, I think is what we called it, yeah, equals token.id, and then we return the session. Okay, so that's all we need to do to configure OAuth authentication on the backend. Honestly, fairly easy, although it did take me a bunch of tries to figure out what to do the very first time. Hopefully this makes it a bit easier for you. Okay, now let's take a look at our index.js file. So now we're on the front end side. We want to get rid of this stuff. I don't really care about it. All right, Isograph, GitHub demo, Isograph, GitHub demo. All right, so we don't actually care about these class names. I just want everything to be plain old JavaScript, plain old HTML with no styles. And then I also want to go to app.tsx, which has some styles. I want to get rid of those because I don't really know whether we need them. Next thing we'll do is we'll create a folder. Let's just call it components. Here we'll create a file called main app. And here we'll export default function return h1 hello from Isograph. Here we'll go ahead and call main app, nice auto importing. And now if we look at Isograph GitHub demo, hello from main app. Excellent. All right. Next thing we want to do is import session provider. This comes from NextAuth. Did we add NextAuth? I did. So why are you not auto-suggesting it? Session provider. Okay, let's see. Import session provider from NextAuth/React. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so it exists. We can do it. We can use it. Do this. Okay, let's make sure everything still exists. Cool, still works. All right. So this maybe creates some context to hold the session. Okay, so in our main app, here what we're going to do is import sign in, sign out, and use session from NextAuth/React. Okay. And then we're going to do this. Const data, and we're going to rename it session equals use session. If session is not equal to null, we're going to say return h1 you have authenticated. Cool. So let's go ahead and log out the session because we're gonna care about it. And otherwise, in the else case, what we're gonna do is return something that says like Isograph GitHub demo. We're gonna return a button here. On click equals sign in. We have to pass it the string GitHub. And then here we're going to say sign in with GitHub. Okay. Oh, I have authenticated because I've previously just tested this out when testing out this video, making sure I had everything. So let's go ahead and add the log out button. Okay, a little bit out of order. So button on click equals sign out. Sign out. Okay. Nice. Do I have a semicolon somewhere? Yeah, I do. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sign out. Isograph GitHub demo, sign in. So now we see that the session is null. And if we click sign in, it says you have authenticated. Now, if I hadn't done this on localhost 3000 beforehand, it would have taken me to GitHub. It would have shown me a little box that says, here are the permissions that you are asking for. And if you click like OK, it redirects you back here and lets you log in. Now it's a little bit quicker, but now we can take a look at this session. We see that we have the access token, we have the user with ID, image and name and stuff like that. So one thing we can sort of test out is we can something like session.foo equals bar and refresh. You'll notice that on this session we do have foo and bar. Okay, so let's go ahead and just review what we've done. We added some authentication route on the backend. This guy, via NextAuth, knows how to authenticate with GitHub. We went ahead and provided it our client ID and client secret that, if you notice here, when we run this, it actually uses env.local. It's getting it from env.local. We request the repo scope, which has read and write access to everything, and sort of like a gives me a lot of permissions. And we define some callbacks. The first one, this JWT callback, gets an account object and transfers some stuff onto a token object. And this session object takes this token and this session and transfers those properties from the token onto the session, returns that. That gets serialized and sent to the front end. On the front end, we have a session provider that holds some session context, and then we go ahead and get the session. If we have not authenticated, we have a button to sign in, and if we have authenticated, we have a button to sign out. So that's what we've done. In the next video, we're going to have some sort of subcomponent here to which we pass the session information or just the token. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and use that token to authenticate with GitHub. To make API requests to the GitHub GraphQL API and demonstrate Isograph. All right. Glad this worked out. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Take care.